Hello, hello. Just a moment. I'm going to move my microphone because it's not quite where I would normally have it. Oh, my phone's talking to me. You don't need that. Just get rid of that extra layer of sound. Sorry. And I've also realised I've still got my hair up, which I don't need. There you go. Let your hair down. Get comfy. Yeah, and I'm going to look a little bit messy today. Just that's the day. It's the sort of day. And I'm trying to figure out where to put some things to get them out of my way. So just a moment. Sorry. I had one of my cameras wasn't working, so I restarted the computer. What it turns out was it wasn't that the camera wasn't working. It was that the interface, which I usually use to check to see if it's working or not, wasn't working. I don't know, just one of those quirky things to do with streaming, I suppose. We're getting a little bit closer to having the microphone in the right place. How's that? Is that a bit better? I think so. I hope so. That's not quite the right place either. Right, rearranging the drinks and there was something else I was thinking of. My book stand. Except I'm not going to be using my book stand today because I'm going to be reading from my monitor. Just because. One of those things. Right. Okay. No, I don't need to be looking at that one. Just checking on my browser in case there was something I was meant to be dealing with. And I shall put it back on to people being able to chat. Sorry about that. I totally forgot that it was not actually set right for it. Getting there. Oh, I know what I forgot. I did think about this and then had to restart the computer, so I didn't set it up. Thanks, Jonathan. Good to see you here. I need to get my little timer things ready, don't I? So we need the egg timer. So the egg timer, I set the egg timer for 6 minutes. Set. Yeah, I would have had all of these sorted out beforehand if I hadn't had to restart the computer. Thankfully, it started reasonably quickly. It's one of the things I like about my current computer, the one that I still call my new computer. I also need my rocket timer for timing my rambles to get me back on track. And yes, we've got stories to read today, so those are there. Trying to think of if there's anything else I usually put over there. Not a problem. It's great that you can have something to keep your ears occupied with while you're working. So it's good to see. Oh, just a moment. I shall just mute my microphone. Someone's forgotten that I'm going to be busy. I will be back in a moment. Sorry about that. Just had an elderly family member walk in and start to tell me about some stuff, so I just needed to sort that out. Now I'm just going to get the puzzle sorted for you. Sorry about that, Blue. Lemon's lurking. Great, that's awesome. Ribs, mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts with bacon. Yum! That sounds so good. So now that sounds really awesome. I'll just get this going. It'll give me a chance to catch my breath. Yeah, no, they're fine. They've just been organising some things in town, our nearby town. And being in their mid-80s, remembering things like me saying I'm always busy Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons doesn't stick. So it's just like every now and then I just have to mute things, go and deal with it and then come back. Most of the time it's okay, it's just that sort of admin thing. But occasionally there'll be something else that's a little bit more intense. Now I'm just finding a jigsaw puzzle. Let's see what else I've got available here. Let's see if we can find something that's particularly well suited to this season. We've done that. No, not that, not that, not that. Done that. Oh, I like that. Right, this is not a seasonal specific jigsaw puzzle, but it is a lovely puzzle. So I'll just get this set up for you and then I will be able to start reading and I will need to, I'm remembering what I have to do. I've got a list written of the stories I'm going to read. They're from several different old ebooks, ebooks of old books. And I don't have them on my iPad, but I do have them on my computer, properly named and everything, because when you download them from Project Gutenberg, if you just save them as they are, you just get their unique number for that particular book. And it can mean that it's a little bit awkward trying to remember what it is. You've got to actually open it to remember what it is, things like that. So, but we'll get there, we'll get there. Right. Change this to, let's give it 126 pieces and a dark background just because it's less distracting for me. I don't know about anyone else, but it's less distracting for me. And I hope you're all well. And I'll say hi to everyone who's new, who's arrived, who unfortunately is having to wonder what's going on, but I will explain very shortly. I can't actually do two things at once. So therefore I am concentrating on this and then I shall talk to you about what I'm doing and what's going on, including explaining who I am and what I'm doing here. Normally, generically, what I'm doing, not specifically what I'm doing. Okay, the jigsaw puzzle link works now. Go for it. Go for it. Sorry about that, Blue. Yeah, new puzzle. New puzzle. We've got a new puzzle. Excellent. Sorry about making you wait like that. I really wanted to get it set up before I got started today, but like I said earlier on, I actually had to restart my computer, which means that the time I would have been taking to set up a puzzle, getting the timers going and all that sort of stuff didn't really work out quite the way I was hoping. But I did manage to sort some drinks. So, right. Let's say hello to people who are new here, and that includes new people over on YouTube. I'm Jev. Hi, I'm Jev. I read old children's books, such as these sort of ones here. These sort of books are the ones that I grew up with. They were lying around the house. They were at my grandparents' house or great aunts and uncles and that sort of thing. Now, this one here is over 100 years old. This one here is 125 years old. And no, they're not in a museum. They're not anywhere special. They're just lying on top of some boxes next to where I sit when I'm working at my desk because they're just normal use books in our house. So I grew up reading all these sort of books. Sorry, my hair is now irritating me, even though I've let it down so it won't irritate me in that way. It's just one of those things. So I grew up reading all sorts of old books because they were the ones that were around. And it was great. It was a really neat way to explore places that you hadn't ever been to before, to be able to see things that nobody else who was currently alive had ever seen, things like that, and you were seeing them in your mind. And I loved it. It really expanded my understanding of the world and places and people and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I took it for granted. This was just normal things. But I also realised once I was at school and a little bit older that not everybody had had that opportunity. Some of them it was because they weren't interested in reading, and some of them it was just because that sort of books were just not available, understandably. So it gave me an advantage. I was able to, when I was listening to what someone was saying, effectively do the same thing as what you do in a book. Put myself in that place, and it was wonderful. It was a great opportunity, and they've just since discovered, actually yes, it's since then, that people who do a lot of reading of fiction, not so much the mass murderer thriller type fiction, but more just general sympathetic people, sympathetic characters you want to have sympathy for, that sort of thing. People who read a lot of fiction tend to have more well-developed ability to understand what other people are going through, to be able to put themselves mentally in their place and give of themselves or recognise that there may be something that needs a little bit more room. The other person may need a little bit more emotional room, or a little bit of concern, a bit of help, whatever. That those people who do a lot of reading of fiction, not watching TV, fiction, books, where you are drawing the pictures inside your own head. People who've done up a lot of reading tend to have stronger empathy muscles. It's the best way to explain it. It's not guaranteed for everybody, but just generally it's something that they've noticed, and it is something that's strong enough that it's not just like, oh, there's a very, very slight, sorry, itchy, I'll explain in a minute. It's not just that there's a very slight possibility of difference in that perception and understanding. It's actually strong enough for people for them to have been able to recognise it and then theorise about it and then do studies and find that yes, that is the case. Right, so that's the bit about reading. Regarding the itching my eye, it's itchy again. I've got ADHD and autism, and so the best way to explain it is my nerves are turned up to 11. Most people's are turned up to maximum of 10, but they usually sort of function around 2, 3, maybe 4 for just day-to-day bits. I'm always itchy. There's no rash, there's no medical issues, there's no nothing. It's just my nerves go bzz, 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 right out on the edges of things. And so there's always some part of me that's got a little bit of an itch going. And the reason why I will actually scratch in front of the camera is because, or rub my eye or my ear or something like that, is because if I don't deal with certain itches, not all of them, certain itches, it will get to the point where my brain is so focused on the sensation that is bugging me that I cannot think straight, I cannot speak straight, and I cannot follow through on anything I'm trying to explain to you. So it's pretty major. So I'm not being rude, but I am actually saying, look, be a little bit sympathetic towards people who may not present their behaviour quite the way you have been brought up to think is normal and acceptable behaviour. Sometimes some things are just, we can't do anything about it. It's just the way our body works, and we need to roll with it, go with it. Right, so if you are new here, still more information for people who are fresh visitors here. If you're over on YouTube and you wish to be part of, this is the YouTube channel for those of you who are on Twitch, by the way, you can find this information on my About page on Twitch, but if you need to, you can just use that. Otherwise, it's youtube.com/@jevvz. Did you know that they have handles over there now, not just channel names? Yep, you do. And it means that people can actually at each other in comments as well. So that's a new thing. So if you're on YouTube, here you go. If you're on YouTube, this is where I read live on Twitch. And if you wish to be part of the conversation, if you wish to do the jigsaw puzzle like you're seeing happening over there, because I'm not going to be removing it this week, if you wish to be part of playing with jigsaw puzzles while I'm reading, while I'm chatting, while I'm just waving my hands around, then and also getting involved with the conversation, then get over to this address here, twitch.tv/jevvnz, and Jev always has 3 V's, jevvnz for New Zealand, and if you want to be part of the conversation, you will actually need to register on Twitch, but it's free. That's okay. As long as you've got you will need to register properly. That means using an actual email address and probably associating a phone number with your account to be able to comment on my channel, because I have some fairly stringent safety features in place, because I want this to be a safe place for grannies and their grandkids to be able to enjoy something that is familiar for granny, and the grandchild is brought into this experience that granny is familiar with, such as reading stories that she maybe already has heard when she was growing up. Because most of the things to do with technology these days that the grandchild relationship involves is a grandchild doing something that's technology based and sharing it with the grandparent. So the grandparent is always the newbie. The grandparent is always the one who's having to experience something new, doesn't have any field of expertise in what it is that's being done. So Twitch here is an opportunity for granny to actually have some sense of familiarity with something, stories that maybe they grow up with, that sort of thing, and to be able to share those things with grandchildren, nieces, nephews, friends, all that sort of stuff. So it needs to be somewhere that's family friendly, safe for them. So we have some chat bans on certain words. We have safety requirements so that when you go to make a comment here, you need to have been following me for a little while. And if you've actually been following me long enough, you don't need to have an authorised phone number to be able to comment, but it just depends on how long it is, and I can't remember. We've also got some other things in place, like a character limit. I'm just thinking what to write. A character limit on comments so that you don't get a great big long screed of text from most people over in the chat box. And it also means that chat spammers, who are like bots that are putting links to dodgy stuff, often their comments can't get through because most of their comments are actually too long for the 150 character length. Just means putting little short comments, and then you don't have to fill in your sentence. You can just write part of it, hit enter on your keyboard, write the next bit, hit enter, write the next bit, hit enter, and so what you were going to say still comes out. It just comes up in chunks. One of our community refers to that as Burma shaving it. So I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's another generational thing. Advertising over in the States at one stage, there's a company called, that I don't even know if they're still around, a company called Burma Shave, and they used to put these little signs on the side of the road. You'd be going along a big, long, open main road, and they'd have a rhyming thought would be put up there, and they would have each of these signs. They were not big, literally they would each be sort of like a quarter of a sentence or half a sentence, and often they were done as a rhyme, and it would be, I wish I could remember, I'll see if I can find one to read it out to you because it makes more sense. And then the punchline at the end was Burma Shave, obviously. So for examples, it's best for one who hits the bottle to let another use the throttle. In other words, don't drink and drive. So that particular version of it, this is just looking at a picture of one, is actually written across 5 signs. It's best for one who hits the bottle to let another use the throttle. Usually they're a little bit more humorous than that. But that sort of idea where it's just a whole bunch of mini statements that added together to express a thought. I'm just looking to see if I can find one that's a little bit more, not just a reaction to a negative behaviour thing. And then they would, like I say, they would have their brand name at the end. But it was something that people who were driving highways in the States were very, very familiar with. And so one of our members refers to, because they like writing long things, refers to having to remember to Burma shave it. So cut it down to these smaller chunks to be able to have the thought come through without having a problem with it. So, and it's just a way of, it also is a way of kind of showing a little bit of respect for others there, because it gives people a chance to get in a comment from time to time between it, because you can see who the different comments are from. And so if you want to follow through one particular thought that someone's expressing, you just read each of their comments and then you go back and read the other bits in response. This is if you're not used to this that I'm explaining it, because not everybody who comes to my channel has done computing and things like streaming and all that sort of stuff, lots and lots, to know what they're doing. So here's a sample of it. The wolf is shaved, so neat and trim. Red Riding Hood is chasing him. Burma shave. So they managed to link that one back to shaving, as well as actually being a little bit more of an amusement in that one. So let's carry on. One more tip for one more bit of information for those of you who are fresh and new here. I have 3 tips. Tip number 1, get drinks. Tip number 2, get snacks. Tip number 3, get comfortable. So tip number 1, get drinks. So drinks that I have today are water in my other water bottle. Not my usual one that I wave at the screen. I'm just going to have a mouthful of water. So, drinks I have today, aside from water, I always have, because it's great for keeping your brain and your body functioning. And if you're doing lots of talking like I do when I'm reading to you and just chatting, it's a great way to keep your throat working well. So, in addition to that, I have 2 drinks today. I have a coffee. Coffee is my favourite drink in the world, basically. Variations of how it's done. So today, because the weather's warmer, we have a homemade iced coffee. So that is a double shot espresso with cold milk from the fridge. Cold, full fat, unhomogenized milk. So therefore the cream, if you leave it to sit, not in the coffee, but in the milk carton in the fridge, the cream actually rises to the top. It's healthier. It's not been processed as much, and it's yummy. So you leave it in the fridge, get it nice and cold. You make your double shot of espresso in the coffee machine. Put a little bit of milk in with it, just so that it takes the temperature down ever so slightly, and put in about half to a full teaspoon of icing sugar and stir it well, because the icing sugar dissolves well. And then put that in your glass and top it up with the rest of your cold milk. And it's yum. Very yum. Unless, of course, you have problems with lactose intolerance, in which case, if you like that sort of thing but really can't do lots of lactose, then get some lactase or lactase, depending on the brand. Lactase is the generic name for it. It's a particular component that most people's bodies don't actually produce enough of, but it helps your body to digest lactose, which is the stuff that most people who have problems with milk have a problem with. Lactase is a brand in New Zealand, so I've got some just in case I need it. Helps to reduce the phlegm production, among other things. I know people who actually have some quite severe lactose intolerance, and as long as they have some of those beforehand, then they're able to eat cheese and all sorts of yummy things like that. Wonderful Blue, that was fabulous. Couple on a morning walk in Assisi, Italy. I just love the look of the plastered buildings with the sort of light that they have over there. I hope you enjoyed it. But, you know, just when I was picking a jigsaw, that was part of what appealed to me. So now let's find another jigsaw puzzle, and then I will carry on with my tips, because we've done one of my drinks for tip 1, because I said that we've got more than one. Yay, we finished it. Yes, sorry, you too, Lemon. I'm glad you were there as part of that. I really appreciate that. It's just that it only showed me the pop-up for iBlue. Right. How were we with numbers for those pieces? Was that okay? Did you need more pieces or less pieces? I wasn't too sure because of the similarity of colouring in that one. Sometimes I will go for one less pieces if it's something that has a lot more same in the picture, if you know what I mean. Let's see if there's another mystery puzzle. Ooh. Okay. I'm trying to think of how I can show this to you. Save image as. I think that's the best way to do it. Right, I'm going to show you a picture, and then I'm going to set up the puzzle for you, because I've only just discovered that only properly discovered that they do these mystery puzzles. First of all, I'll get this going. No, not that. Sorry. I have to pick the right thing to click on and then do the properties button so I can put the link in the right box. And then we shall do this bit here. Decent, you enjoyed it. Brilliant. So this one is 143 pieces. The picture I'm going to show you in a minute makes it feel like it's going to be a small one like the ones I usually give you. These ones are ever so slightly bigger. No, I haven't got the command ready for you yet. Sorry, Blue. So I'm going to leave this one at 143 pieces, but I will change the colour of the background just because it kind of, fits in better. I probably don't need to explain that anymore. Just waiting for the link. Copy the link. Yay. Otherwise I have to actually go and get a new puzzle for you if I don't copy the link. Because once I've got rid of that pop-up, I can't get to it again. I've tried. Anyone who's been here for a while remembers. Okay, link is ready to go on the puzzle, and now I will find you this picture to show you. Picture. Yes, I shall leave that there where it is because it's a little bit hard for me to see otherwise. Find the right folder. There it is here. Now I'm going to show you a picture of what the current puzzle is using as the kind of the hint, I suppose you could say. And I'll put it up here in the top and then I'll take it away. So this here is the hint that they've given us for that puzzle that you're doing now. You remember the one with the pumpkins and the truck? It was, and I said it was that the actual picture that they show is just one of the pumpkins and another little one by it and part of the back of the cab of the truck. They didn't have the whole of the picture. Well, this one's like that too, where they're showing us this little bit, and then when you do the puzzle, it'll actually resolve it for you. You'll get to see what the rest of the picture is. There you go. Right. So back to these tips. So tip number 1 was drinks, and we're part way through that. So I've got my iced coffee. I've told you about water. Hang on, let's have a mouthful of iced coffee while we're here. The other drink I have today, in another one of my colour change tumblers, this is meant to be green, but it's actually gone blue. I randomly guessed this colour to use for the lid. It's not the lid that actually, this is the lid that goes with this tumbler. It's more green than blue. So in here today is cold L&P, lemon and pyro. It's kind of like Sprite or 7-Up, except a little bit different because it's New Zealand. I think it's actually more lemony is probably the best way I can describe it. It's originally based off a mineral water that had lemon added to it to improve the flavour, and it just became our own branded soft drink, fizzy drink, available in New Zealand. Right, so drinks. Tip 1 was drinks. Tip 2 is snacks. So what do we have in the way of snacks today? I'm glad you asked. I've had to do the freezer trick again. So I will repeat what my freezer trick is for those of you who didn't catch it last time. If you have in some container that is portable, if you have ants invading something that is sweet or high protein, sometimes they go for protein, and you want to get rid of the ants so that you can have whatever it was, put it in the freezer. And then the ants will all die off. You can shake them off or brush them off the outside of whatever it was, unless it's unwrapped. And then you can actually still do it. So I've gone one step further now. I've actually put some of them in little Ziploc bags. These are the ones that last time had been causing the problem. This time it was one of these wrapped ones. Hi Coleslaw, great to have you here. This time it was one of these ones that are wrapped down here, that sort of thing, that part of the wrapping had split slightly and so the ants could smell the sugar in it. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Oh, okay, when I actually went through and dusted off all the ants. Great to have you here, Coleslaw. You haven't missed too much. We're up to snacks. So I still have my last ones of these Halloween specific ones. So I've got a skull, I've got a heart, and I've got an eyeball. That's it of those. But those are not the only snacks I have. Those are just the last of the Halloween specific snacks. I've also got some more of these little one, wrong colour. I did that last time, didn't I? Yes, noise. Some more of these little ones in the mini pots, the Sistema pots, and also the Bon Maman jam pots. So I'm just going to put those up the back so I'm not tempted by too much sugar, because too much sugar can give me a migraine. It's not good. One of the things that helps with that, to reduce it, you've only got today or tonight and tomorrow to be able to get cheap Halloween candy before. Actually, if there's lots extra, they may sell it cheaper afterwards. I don't know. Depends on where you are. Our local, the warehouse department store thingy that I talked about last time, is getting much better at actually assessing their numbers on things. The first few years they were in our area, because head office wasn't used to what the buying was like in our area, so they overstocked on everything for every season of the year. So at Christmas time, we had a wonderful spree of getting Christmas decorations and Christmas puddings and all sorts of things like this at half price or quarter price for about a week or two after Christmas. These days, often they sell out before we actually get to whatever the focus is for the season. So hopefully your shops are used to it enough so that they can actually still have some nice candy for you after Halloween. So we'll just see how we go. Too bad that they've adjusted. Yeah, I know, it's a shame. Easter was the really big one that really blew everyone's minds, because they had all of these chocolate Easter eggs and marshmallow ones. I don't know if you have marshmallow Easter eggs that are marshmallow inside, and then they'll have a different coloured marshmallow as if it was like the egg yolk, like yellow, white for the rest of the marshmallow, and then it's chocolate coated, and they stick two of these halves together so it's actually egg shaped, because when they're made they're just moulded as a like a half egg shape, like this. Turn my hand the right way, this sort of shape but with a flat top, and then they stick them together. So yeah, they sold a lot of extra chocolate afterwards. They would have still made a little bit, but not very much of it. But it's a good way to get rid of old stock too. Like a Kinder Surprise, kind of like a Kinder Surprise, but it's actually built with just being marshmallow for the filling, chewy marshmallow. A little bit like the foamy marshmallow in this, but not quite as chewy. Right. Jonathan's saying, when I used to work at the warehouse, staff could buy broken Easter eggs cheap. And I know how many broken Easter eggs they get, because you get little nasty little kids will come along and poke at something, but just because it's a nice, great big thing and they want to just sort of like they'll knock at it or they'll poke their thumb in. One Easter I bought 26 bags, says Jonathan. Wow, that's serious. That's a lot of Easter eggs. Well done. I hope you spread them out for a while and kept enjoying them instead of being overwhelmed with the sugar high. So just speaking of sugar, I'm just going to take one of my magnesium supplements because your body requires magnesium, uses its own supply of magnesium that's, there from food that you've eaten and stuff like that, to process carbohydrates. It needs them as part of the processing. And the more sugar you have, the more magnesium it requires to process it. It's just part of the system. And so I find that I'm less likely to get migraines from too much sugar if I also have some magnesium while I'm having sweet things. Jonathan says, alas, health and safety got rid of that. And surprisingly, they had fewer ones broken after. So yeah, the staff were not telling their friends to go breaking the chocolate for them. Yeah, anytime a wrapper might get broken, that's definitely into the risky stage because it's no longer in a sterile factory setup environment to keep it safe for everybody. Right, in addition to my Halloween candy, I keep pointing, I'm sorry, I have cheese and crackers. Oh, we haven't had that for a while, have we? So I've got this is a nice creamy New Zealand brie cheese and some Pam's Finest. Pam's is a generic brand that is available through a chain of our New Zealand supermarkets. There's a group of 3 supermarkets called, the 3 supermarkets are New World, that's their top one, so it's nicely stacked on shelves, everything's neat and tidy. And then you've got Pack and Save, which is where you put all your groceries into your trolley afterwards or into bags or anything like that. The staff don't do any of that, and it's kind of like warehousing racks that the boxes, they just cut the ends off the boxes and you help yourself from it and all that sort of stuff. I do actually have some plastic cheese, just in case you're missing it. And then the third one is Foursquare, and Foursquare is kind of like a corner store but a little bit bigger. It costs a little bit more because they're smaller shops and they're usually in places that aren't big enough for a full-on supermarket, and so therefore their freight charges are a lot higher. And unfortunately, it means that people who live in out-of-the-way places still have to pay more for their groceries instead of having it better. So New World has usually the biggest choice. Pack and Save has the lowest prices. And Foursquare means that you can get groceries from just down the road if you live out of the way. So, but that's a group of companies that are partly owned by an organisation called Foodstuffs. We've got basically a duopoly in New Zealand on our grocery companies. So there's another one that is Countdown and something else that's part of it. And that's actually Australian originated. They're associated with Woolworths in Australia. But the New Zealand Foodstuffs ones, the shops are often locally owned, and then they're basically bought into a franchise. But the reason I'm telling you all that, Pam's, this one over here, Pam's Finest is in their generic, Pam's is the name of one of their generic food lines. Pam's Finest is kind of like really nice stuff, that's specialty stuff in their generic food lines, and most of their Pam's Finest stuff is really, really yummy, and it's often cheaper than other specialty stuff done by other companies. So I've got my crackers here. I'll open it up. Yeah, here we go. More noise for you, giving you goosebumps or making you put your fingers in your ears, something like that. Sorry, I'm just ripping open the cellophane so I can get to the crackers, and then I can put them down on the desk. Right, crackers. So I was going to hold them up to the microphone for you to see. That's working, isn't it? So these are the sort of crackers that they are. So they're usually a little bit shinier on one side and then they're moulded on the other. And they're very, very, very thin and they're really crisp and yum with stuff like brie and other soft cheeses. And if you have fruit, or something that's called fruit cheese, which is like a fruit paste, but it's cooked long enough that it goes really firm, almost hard, kind of chewy, kind of pasty, but like apricot or fig and something or other else and all sorts of things like that. If you've got a strong flavoured cheese, then some of the fruit cheese with it on the crackers is really yum. Or salami or basil leaves or, you know, you name it. Cheese and crackers, yum. Doesn't need to be just for special occasions. Right, so that's snacks. We've got drinks, we've got snacks. And get comfortable means get yourself somewhere comfortable to sit or lie down, or if you have to work or if you're studying, try and get yourself so that you're going to stay awake and get the stuff done, but it's not too uncomfortable and awkward for you that you have to give up on listening. Hopefully we're a nice comfortable distraction for you from the stuff that you have to do. Anyway, all that sort of stuff. So there you go. Get drinks, get snacks and get comfortable. And I'm just going to have a little bit of cheese and crackers because sorry, I've got my indigestion thing going on. It's not great. It's just one of those age related things. Every now and then you get a little bit of heartburn. No, it's not other things. I know it's actually to do with indigestion, just in case anyone's worried. Do I have kids that go door to door at all? Yes, here in New Zealand. No, we kind of do. It tends to happen more in the cities. Or a city where you've got the suburb feels safe enough for kids to do that. They will do door knocking, they'll go trick or treating, and some parts of the country towns, some of them will. You'll get a street where they do a bit of trick or treating, but generally it's not across the board that's a done thing. I do remember doing it in Canada when I was a kid. I was 3, I think, and my aunt, who is younger than me, was dressed up as a clown. I had to go off and find a cushion from the living room when we were being dressed up. She went, and so that she could stuff it in the front of her clown suit. And I went as a little bat. And I remember wearing the outfit, but I don't know if there's actually a photo of what it looked like. But I've got these strong memories of going trick-or-treating in Canada with my relatives. So it was lots of fun. Quite cute. I mean, I was 3, so she would have been, I was probably nearly 3.5, so she would have been just 3. Little toddlers. I wish I did. I'm going to have to ask my dad if he knows if there are any photos from that. It would be really cute. It's the only time I've actually done trick-or-treating that I can remember. Right. I'm looking around to see if there's anything else I'm meant to be keeping an eye on. I just realised I had it on the wrong browser window. I remember, not last time, but the time before, Go Ricky said I needed to check up on, oh, well done on that puzzle. Go Ricky said something about checking up on my alerts for me, end of alerts, like when people redeem something, that I might need to refresh something. Well, I actually figured out that there is a panel that I can have that will show me if someone's redeemed anything, rather than having to read through the chat to look for the bit that the bot has told me that something's been redeemed, because that was what I was doing beforehand, and so it would take me a little while sometimes to see it. So if I've got this thing open in the right place, because it is a pop-up that can be opened, and I didn't realise that. Twilight at Bran Castle. That's really cool. I like that. The colours in that are amazing. Really amazing. So let's find another picture, and then I'll get on with reading. So, hang on. Let's find Aunt says Aunt handmade a bird costume and did each feather by hand. Rich gay aunt did handmade a bird costume. That would be amazing. I hope they've got photos. Not that they have to show me, but with all that effort. Oh, good. I hope she posts pictures on Twitter. So this is this year. She's done it. That would be really cool. I'm looking for... Oh, hi, Aunt. Great to have you here. I didn't realise you were here. Sorry about that. I'm trying to... Oh, sorry, my brain has just gone at me. Yeah, absolutely. Q. Speak of the devil, and look who turns up. Not that we're saying you are, of course, but, you know. Photos tomorrow. Wonderful. Good. Looking forward to it. So, do we want another mystery photo, or shall I find something on a particular theme? Q and Art. Yeah, hi to Q and Art. That's good. So, do we want another mystery photo where we get a little bit of a preview, and then when you're actually assembling it, you get a bigger picture? Or do we want something on a particular theme? Keeping in mind I'm doing old folk tales, and it's a bit hard to actually find things that are specific to old folk tales on the jigsaw puzzle site. I don't know why, it just is. Just wondering if there's anything else here that I could go by where they're going to suggest puzzles. What about a kitten photo? Let's do a kitten photo. There's a very cute kitten. I think we should do this one. Well, you guys can do this one while I'm reading. I'm just going to post the, put the pieces together properly in the right place. That's what I'm going to do. And then do this. Right, pieces. I'm going to give us more pieces than that. 132 pieces. There you go. If you can hear a very faint humming and then some metallic rattling and stuff like that going on, it's because we've got a little digger downstairs outside, and hubby is lifting up the old concrete from the old driveway, and that the puzzle should be good to go now. The old concrete from the driveway, which was just the concrete trucks when they take a load of concrete to a building site. If there's more than they need, they have to get rid of it. So either they have to find some way to dump it that they shouldn't, like on the side of the road, sometimes that happens, or persuade the builder on the site where they are to let them just dump this pile of wet concrete and let it go hard so it can be removed. Or if you're someone like us, you say, yes please, come and drop it at our place, and they would just drive in. This is after we'd built the house, after we had moved in, because we just had loose stones on the drive. And so what we did was they would come in, they'd unload all the concrete that they had, which was sometimes it was a little bit and sometimes it was a bigger bit, and then they could clean out the truck to get it, because concrete goes off after a certain amount of time. It's not just drying, it's actually a chemical reaction. And if you leave it too long, it gets harder and harder. Literally gets harder and harder, but it gets harder and harder to clean off too. So the sooner they can get rid of the extra concrete and then wash out the concrete drum on the truck. Let's see if I can get you a picture of a concrete truck, because not everybody knows what a concrete truck is. I always assume this sort of thing, but then I grew up around building sites because my dad was a builder, my husband's a builder, so it was normal for us. We used to refer to them as ready mix trucks, because on old building sites you would make it yourself with a concrete mixer, the little wee machine that you'd load up with a shovel. Let's see if I can find one that is easy to see what it is. And maybe one that's more specifically a New Zealand one would be nice. Save image, and then I'll put the picture up. Browse, find the right thing. There it is. Oh, and my computer's actually looking in the right place. That's nice. That's not normal. Well, that's not common. And I'll make it so it's small enough to be seen. Hi, past shelf date. Great to see you here. Glad you got home. Right, so this is a concrete truck. No, it's not a cement truck. Cement is the powder that is used to make concrete. Concrete is where you have cement powder and water and sand and stones mixed up together. And then the, sorry, my brain is going at me again. And then when you put it where you want it to go, there's a chemical reaction between the water and the cement powder that is now mixed in with everything else. And this chemical reaction actually generates heat. If you've ever been around concrete when it's going off, I don't know if you ever have, but it's surprising how warm it gets. Not warm enough to burn, but definitely warms up. And it's a chemical reaction that's taking place because it's actually limestone that has been ground up and then processed, including cooking a certain way, which changes the way it responds to water. And then once it's finished its chemical reaction, it has bound everything in it together really tightly, which is what we end up with as hard concrete. So these trucks would come past our place. That's got a really cool New Zealand Māori design underneath. The red and yellowy orange stripes are the brand colours. They usually have white trucks with those stripes on the drum. And then this particular one has actually had a Māori design put onto the drum as well. I'm not sure if it was specific to the driver or if it was actually just a feature that the company was doing at the time. Anyway, so cool design, yeah. I've seen a whole lot of pictures of various ones over the years from different places, but this was the really cool one that I found. Anyway, so these trucks would go past our place on the way to the building site. They'd unload their concrete into whatever it was that was being built. If they had any extra, because some places you always just have a little wee bit extra there just in case, because sometimes people don't measure well. And because they knew, and we had a sign out the front of our place and they'd gone past, and hubby had talked to the different concrete companies that were local, if they were coming past and they had some extra, they'd stop into our place and shoot it out onto the ground next to the last patch that we had done. And we would get out there with a rake and some wood, a big long stick of wood where it's straight on one side, which we call timber because it's one that you're going to use for building something with normally. And you'd level it all up and you'd texture it and all stuff like that. And so you end up with patchwork concrete driveway, which is what we had up until now. It doesn't have any reinforcing in it, because this is not permanent concrete. This is just using old stuff, and it means that you don't have stones coming into the house on people's feet. It means that you don't get mud being created in amongst the stones because you've got concrete. But we knew it was short term, even though short term was sort of like 12 or 13, maybe more years than that. So he's now out there because we've got the use of this digger and lifting up those pieces and dropping them on the ground so they break because they don't have any reinforcing steel in them, so therefore they don't have their inherent strength. Concrete is good for being squished, it's harder to break, but if you pull it, which is what happens if you take a flat thing like this, and try to bend it, the inside edge of it is actually being squished. The outside edge, the surface, is being stretched. Concrete, when it's being stretched, breaks. So that's why you have steel in it to add to strength in it. So he's getting it ready so that we can have proper concrete put down and it'll have steel in it so that it will be a nice driveway with a nice, neat, tidy edge. Won't be all patchwork pieces and all sorts of different colours and textures and things like this. So we'll just see what happens. Intriguing, very intriguing. I'm just looking at the jigsaw puzzle. Right, so how about, I think I've covered the 3 tips I needed to go. Yes, I have. The 3 tips for everyone who's new here or hasn't heard the tips before. Now, I have 4 stories that I can, 4, not my usual 4 stories that I can read. No, 4 stories that I can read. I've chosen ones that aren't particularly long so we can get a little bit more done. Now, if I finish them all in time or need a break from reading them, I do actually have some craft materials here. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do though. I do have an idea. I'll show you. I've got this. It's a Hello Kitty printout, in case you don't know. In case you have not been online and haven't been into a gold coin or a dollar shop for years, very, very many years, this is Kitty. Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty. I've printed it out. It's actually kind of head-sized, and if I cut out the top part of that properly, I can put it, with a curve, I can put it on one of those stand-up happy birthday headbands. And so I would have a set of Hello Kitty ears, and then I would colour in the bow there so it was bright red or pink or whatever colour is. I think it's red. Yeah, I think it's really cute. I just had a look for pictures of Hello Kitty images online, and I found that one, which is just the head. It's really cute. It used to amuse me. I had friends my kids' age, who would go to, one of them went to a special Hello Kitty shop in another part of New Zealand and paid some rather expensive money, as in they paid quite a bit of money for a couple of Hello Kitty items from the official Hello Kitty shop. Very cool. I'm fine with people doing that, but you know, I don't have the money to throw around like that. And what I didn't tell them was that I had been into our local gold coin shop, and a lot of the ones in New Zealand, the stock that they use is stock that has been declined by quality control in Chinese factories, not because there's something wrong with it structurally. It'll usually still work. It's just not as perfect as what the brand company wants it to be. So I got a really cute little Hello Kitty enamel keyring, and the only thing that's wrong with it is that when it was the metal for it was molded, because it's a metal base with a metal rim on it and then the white inside that, one of the ears isn't quite, it still looks Hello Kitty shaped this way, but it's just one of the ears is bent back. You couldn't bend it yourself. It just doesn't sit quite right. I wonder if it's this one here. Yes, I've got it. This needs a clean. It's been knocking around in my bag for so long that it's discoloured. I'll just take it off there so it's not quite so loud. I know I do the whole noise thing, but hey. Right, so this is a very filthy Hello Kitty keyring, actual metal keyring that I got for $2 or $3. Pretty good. So it's metal on the back, but it doesn't have its brand name on the back. And yeah, the back of one ear is slightly rounded out. Oh, hi Squibble and friends. Great to have you here. Lovely. Thank you for the raid. Good to see you. Ooh, great to see you. I was wondering how you were doing, because I did see that you were busy doing artwork, and I was really hoping to actually get in there, but I needed to restart the computer and a whole lot of horrible things like that. So no, it's the other way around. That's my command if I go and raid somebody else. But hey, the ones that are here are from Squibble's channel. So there you go, from that channel there. So if you haven't met Squibble before, go follow her on Twitch. She does awesome artwork. Really, really cool. She's got a series that she's doing on Thursdays, which is illustrations for the Wizard of Oz. Yes, that's what it is. And she's just gradually working through. She does these minutely detailed artworks and they're gorgeous. I love them. But she does other ones as well, like the rosy maple moths. I got the words right. I remembered. Have you ever looked at photographs of rosy maple moths? I mean, her work is gorgeous. But I can see why she wanted to do rosy maple moths. I'm not sure if it was a job that she's taken on or if it's something that she's doing for herself. But look up rosy maple moths photographs online. They are tiny, like sit on the end of your finger tiny. And they're so cute and fluffy. Yes, absolutely, so fluffy. They really are amazing. The moths are for you too. Cool. I'm sure you do other work that is for others or for like contract projects and stuff like that, but I've never specifically managed to get my brain to sit still long enough to find out. Sorry. But you're welcome to tell us all about what you've been doing. So please do. Put comments in the chat about what you've been up to today. So, excuse me. I'm having snacks. Did Squibble remember to get snacks? We joked about it one time over on her Discord server. Just because, you know. Actually been working on the rosy maple moths today. I painted their antenna. Oh, that would have been cool. Because they've got, like, their bodies are like fuzzy, cuddly teddy bear type fuzzy. And then they've got moth antennae, which are the ones that are the long antenna, which have the long bits out the sides, whereas butterfly antenna are a long stem with a blob on the end. Isn't that a cute kitten? Well done on the puzzle. Well done, all those of you who did the puzzle. Oh, I'm throwing my snacks at myself now. Paintbrush cleaning first, then snacks. Good idea. And don't forget your cup of tea. It's probably a bit late for coffee now for you. I'm okay for it just because usually I have enough adrenaline when I've been streaming that if I have a bit of coffee for a while, I'm okay. I've got my homemade iced coffee, by the way, just to make you jealous. Oh, good, you've got decaf, good. I prefer the flavour of coffee. I don't actually do well with normal tea. The new stuff that's sold in New Zealand is green tea. Gives me the shudders. There's just something in it. I can't drink it. Normal black tea, the way most people make it when it's strong, I can't drink. A pinch of Lapsang souchong leaves, dried, in the bottom of my mug, topped up with hot water, so it's a clear thing that just gets a very slight hint of colour in. That's yummy. And for those who don't know it, Lapsang souchong is quite smoky. It's quite different to what most people are used to for tea, but it's yummy. And also Chinese green tea, what I think they used to call bullet tea. It's where it's little wee balls of leaves all bundled up together. Each one's bundled up and then they're dried. And just a couple of those balls dropped in the bottom of a cup or a mug and boiling water poured on it. And that's yummy too. But standard green tea, matcha style green tea, no, I can't do it. I love that other people can. I just can't do it. So let's see about another puzzle. I'll see if I can. What shall I search for on the puzzle site? Lemon says, Lapsang souchong sounds really nice. I really enjoy green tea with roasted barley or rice. Oh, that sounds interesting. I like the sound of that. Very cool. So I'm just looking at, what about one of those moths? Oh, if I can, depends on the site. I'll see if I can find one. There's some of the stock photo sites. I can't just pull a photo from a generic Google search because it depends on the way the site handles the image, that the site it's coming from handles the image to be able to hand it across to the puzzle site. So I'll just see what I can do. Hang on. Rosie. There is one particular stock photo site that does allow me to, those are sponsored ones, which I can't use. There is a stock photo site that it does work with. My preferred one is a privately set up and run one, which I've got a couple of photos on. But their one, unfortunately, won't hand across photos for doing this sort of thing. No, they don't have any, unfortunately. Lemon's saying that roasted flavour is just absolutely, I can understand it would be, yeah. Yeah, have to have non-caffeine teas. Not sure why, but green tea black makes my tummy hurt. It's quite possibly the same stuff that I can't tolerate that gives me the shudders when I drink it. There's some aspect in it that really catches. It's not just the flavor. It's not just that it gives me the shudders. That's just the easiest way to explain it to most other people. There's something in the flavour that doesn't sit well with me. Could be because you leave it to steep too long. I know with green teas I have to steep it for like 1.5 or 2 minutes, otherwise the tannins get too much and it's bitter too. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can find a different sort of moth then, unfortunately. Hang on, we'll do a Google search first. Yeah, try making it super weak, so it just barely colours the water. That's what I do with the Chinese tea. And I mean, I call it Chinese tea because I first had it because my sister-in-law, who's from China, used to get her mum to send it across to her because we didn't have any, where she was living, she didn't have any Chinese groceries handy. The barley matcha tea I do for 2 minutes, but the jasmine green tea I really like is like 1 minute, 120 tops. Yeah, jasmine tea, I like the smell of it. I like the first mouthful, and after that, yeah, because most people have made it too strong. Oh, I wonder if I can use this one from Wikipedia. Let's see if it will pull for me. Pull, as in draw the image across. Because if I go to Wikipedia's Wikimedia section, you can look at different sized versions of an image. This is the one that is a super cute version when people are first trying to find out what they look like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Squibble's looked at lots of photos over there. Okay, copy image address. That's the one I want. I wonder if I need a bigger one. Let's go for a slightly bigger version. Copy image address. That's the one. Yeah, because I can't just load up a photo to it. I've tried. The things that we learn. Right. Lemon's saying, also the temperature really matters when you make green teas. It should be lower than usual. Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Around 180 degrees C, I think. 100 is boiling, so I don't know. Anyway, it's lower than normal boiling. Because black tea, traditional English style tea, you make at 100 degrees Celsius, like when the water's boiled. Create a custom puzzle. That's the one. Green tea should be, that's possibly part of it, because I've just always assumed that tea has you use a hotter temperature. Enter a credit line. Okay, well, let's be good and see if we can find a credit note. That sounds terrible. Author. There. Yes, I know this is taking a bit longer, but you know, hey, nice picture. It is nice to be able to do them this way, but if I know beforehand, really well beforehand, really well beforehand. Then I can get a whole lot of them set up and save the right links for them, and then just paste the link into the copy link, and yay, it's a nice short one. When I create it, it's a short one. And now paste this over here. No, not that one. I have to put it in over here. That's right. And then I copy that one. It's two links that you've got to handle. One to put it into the overlay, and then one to get from here. Now this one's going to be a bit awkward because it's got lots of black in the background. I'm going to make it slightly less pieces because otherwise it's going to be is that going to be okay for you guys? So I'm just going to read Lemon's comment and give chat a chance to catch up with what I've just said. I have a hot water tower or machine I use for all my teas. Fill it up with water and it keeps it all a constant temperature for what you want to use it for. It's usually on the hottest temperature. When I make green teas, I just add a splash of water in my mug before pouring the water. Yeah, that would be a great way to do it. We really enjoy black tea with milk and sugar a lot more than I drink green tea, so we keep it at the hotter temperature. That makes so much sense. And it's a great idea. So I'm going to go with, you can see it in the overlay, that's 117 pieces. I'm going to leave it at that. And come on, copy link, yay, link copied, and then paste the link into here for you. So parts of it are going to be a little bit harder because of the black around it, but it's a really cute moth. And Squibble is going to recognize the picture straight away as soon as it gets going. I know this just because I know she will have been referencing lots of images of rosy maple moths. When you're doing, it's like when you're writing, you have reference images when you're doing artwork, whether it's you actually taking photos yourself or whether it's looking at ones online. Unless you're doing something like plein air painting, which is where you're outside and you're looking at the real actual thing. That's where you, plein air painting is where the reference that you're using is the thing that you're painting as it is, like people do with portrait painting. But it's actually a lot easier for portraits if you get a photo of the person because it's already flattened it into 2D, and so you're not having to have your brain interpret it. Try it with the exclamation mark. I have that problem. I keep hitting the 1 instead of exclamation mark before puzzle. And yeah, it's already in 2D, and also you can keep on working on it even when the person you're taking doing a painting of, or when the lighting's changed. You've still got the same thing there available. Sorry, all the words, way too many words. Shouldn't have been all those words. Okay, so I just had a message over on Discord, and I'm not going to deal with that at the moment. It's just too much information for me at the moment, but that's okay. I'm sure they're going to explain it to me later. I do need to pull up a paste document here. Oh, bother. One that I usually use. Wasn't the one that came up because I forgot to choose it. Okay, no, we'll just do it as a blank one and then I'll sort it later. Right, that's out of the way. Now we're going to read. 4:15. I used to be nearly finished by now. Can you believe it? Right, so the stories we're going to read, I keep looking for my book, but it's not a book. It's actually files on my computer. How about that, eh? So I have a folder called Folk Fairy Tales, as in folk tales and fairy tales. And I have them here named. Let's go this way. Oops. And then I just have to double click them to open them when I find the right one, because they're from 4 different books. Okay, let's sort them alphabetically, not by date. That might help. That wasn't the program I wanted to open it. Let's try that again. I did have it working with a different program before. Open with. Yeah. The problem being that I had to actually shut down the computer and restart it. Oh, organisation, yes. So I haven't gone. Goriki has a master folder that he puts all his digital books in. And then he has a subfolder within it that where he puts the ones that he's already read. Because I've got, usually I read books by specific authors. I tend to put everything to do with that author or that book in either the author folder or the subfolder for that particular book, because often we'll have several books by one author. And because this is a different type of thing, then it's not quite the same. And now I just need to resize this because it's a little bit big. Is it going to? Yes, it is going to make it single column for me. I was trying to find an app that I could put on my computer that would actually give me the words of the book, because I don't show them to you while I'm reading them, I'm sorry, unlike most of the other people who read these sort of books. So I'm just going to put it here and have it on my screen and read it to you, okay? It's called Connla and the Fairy Maiden, and it's from a book called Celtic Folk and Fairy Tales, and the editor is Joseph Jacobs. Now, he's the chap who pulled together a whole bunch of the stories that we read a couple of the other times. He's the actual, we would normally credit it as an author, but he's the person who gathered these stories, and he was the one who was saying that it didn't appear that the English had lots of fairy tales, and then he since found that they actually had a lot more than he expected. So this is from one of his compilation books called Celtic Folk and Fairy Tales, and he compiled it quite a long time ago, so it's in the public domain. And I totally forgot, I meant to write things like that in my chat over here. Right, there you go, it's in there, and I've got the right app working now. So Connla, Connla, and the Fairy Maiden is the name of this story. Here we go. Connla of the Fiery Hair was son of Con of the 100 Fights. One day, as he stood by the side of his father on the height of Usna, he saw a maiden clad in strange attire towards him coming. And yes, because these were transcribed a long time ago, some of the language usage is a little bit different to what we used to. Whence comest thou, maiden? Said Connla. He's fancy. I come from the plains of the ever-living, she said. There where death is... There where is neither death nor sin. There we keep holiday alway, nor need we help from any in our joy, and in all our pleasure we have no strife, and because we have our homes in round green hills, men call us the hill folk. We would call them fairies. The king and all with him wondered much to hear a voice when they saw no one, for save Connla alone, none saw the fairy maiden. Oh, what's going to happen? To whom art thou talking, my son? Said Con, the king. Then the maiden answered, Connla speaks to a young fair maid, whom neither death nor old age awaits. I love Connla, and now I call him away to the plain of pleasure, Moy Mel, where Bodag is king for aye, that's always. Nor has there been sorrow or complaint in that land since he held the kingship. Oh, come with me, Connla of the fiery hair, ruddy as the dawn with thy tawny skin, so he's well tanned from working outside. A fairy crown awaits thee to grace thy comely face and royal form. Come, and never shall thy comeliness fade, nor thy youth, till the last awful day of judgment. The king, in fear at what the maiden said, which he heard though he could not see her, called aloud to his druid, Coran by name. O Coran of the many spells, he said, and of the cunning magic, I call upon thy aid. A task is upon me too great for all my skill and wit. Greater than any laid upon me since I seized the kingship. Yes, because it wasn't always inherited back then. You seized it. You fought for it. You killed people. You went to battle to gain the kingship. A maiden unseen has met us, and by her power would take from me my dear, my comely son. Comely being handsome, good looking. I'm just going to move this. It's in the way. I wish I had another screen above like Goriki does just for this sort of thing, except that I'd be reading like this. It would look a bit weird. I'm just checking that I spelt that correctly. Hang on. Yes. So, comely. Of a person, pleasing or attractive to the eye. And it's often used about women in older language. A comely maiden. There you go. I'll put this back over here where I can see it again. Actually, I'll make the words a little bit smaller and then I can make the whole thing smaller. Ooh, pop-ups. Yes. Where have you been, Goriki? They've been like that for a while. Sorry. No, I'm not. I don't mean that. Medium. Apply preset. That's a bit better. Get rid of the... Okay, now make the page a little smaller so what's on my screen is not taking up quite so much room of my view. There, here we go. So, no, that's not what I wanted you to do. Because I'm moving windows around, my computer decided that obviously I don't want to see where I've got my broadcasting software. No, we just have this one thing up and that's all you can see now. No, let's ignore that. Right. So, the king in fear at what the maiden said. No, I've got that bit. It's repaginated, so the lines don't look the same. This time I have a valid excuse for getting lost on the page. A maiden unseen has met us, and by her power would take from me my dear, my comely son. If thou help not, he will be taken from thy king by woman's wiles and witchery. Oh, terrible. Dun, dun, dun. Then Corin the druid stood forth and chanted his spells towards the spot where the maiden's voice had been heard, and none heard her voice again, nor could Connla see her any longer. Only as she vanished before the druid's mighty spell, she threw an apple to Connla. I think she's dealt with men before. This is not a comment about men in general. It's just men in fairy tales. Sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between thinking and action. For a whole month from that day, Connla would take nothing, either to eat or to drink, save only from that apple. Oh, but as he ate, it grew again and always kept whole, and all the while there grew within him a mighty yearning and longing after the maiden he had seen. Very much a typical fairy tale sort of a setting. But when the last day of the month of waiting came, Connla stood by the side of the king his father on the plain of Arcomin, and again he saw the maiden come towards him, and again she spoke to him. "'Tis a glorious place, forsooth," that means in truth, "that Connla holds among short-lived mortals awaiting the day of death. But now the folk of life, the ever-living ones, beg and bid thee come to Moy Mill, the plain of pleasure, for they have learnt to know thee, seeing thee in thy home among thy dear ones." When Con the king heard the maiden's voice, he called to his men aloud and said, "Summon swift my druid Corin, for I see she has again this day the power of speech." Then the maiden said, "O mighty Con, fighter of 100 fights, the druid's power is little loved. It has little honour in the mighty land, peopled with so many of the upright. When the law comes, it will do away with the druid's magic spells that issue from the lips of the false black demon." I'm wondering if the druid has been doing things in the background for his own ends, that she's speaking like this. We'll see. Don't forget your drinks, people. Right, carrying on. Then Con the king observed that since the coming of the maiden, Connla his son spoke to none that spake to him. So Con of the 100 fights said to him, "Is it to thy mind what the woman says, my son?" "'Tis hard upon me," said Connla. "I love my own folk above all things, but yet a longing seizes me for the maiden." "'Tis hard upon me," no, I read that. echoes. When the maiden heard this, she answered and said, "The ocean is not so strong as the waves of thy longing. Come with me in my curragh, the gleaming, straight-gliding crystal canoe. Soon can we reach Bodag's realm. I see the bright sun sink, yet far as it is, we can reach it before dark. There is, too, another land worthy of thy journey, a land joyous to all that seek it. Only wives and maidens dwell there. If thou wilt, we can seek it and live there alone, together in joy." Ooh, what's she proposing? Oop, sorry, missed the page. When the maiden ceased to speak, Connla of the fiery hair rushed away from his kinsmen and sprang into the curragh, or curragh, depending on how you want to say it, the gleaming, straight-gliding crystal canoe, and then they all, king and court, saw I breathed wrong. Can you do that? Do you have that skill? Breathing wrong? Saw it glide away over the bright sea towards the setting sun, away and away, till I could see it no longer. So Connla and the fairy maid went forth on the sea, and were no more seen, nor did any know whither they came. Oh, there you go. I didn't get the pictures for you, sorry. Just look up Connla and the fairy maiden. You'll probably find it. So that's the end of that book, that story. She won him over. A curragh or a curragh. Let's see if this will actually bring it up. It's actually an Irish boat, skin boat, a boat made out of animal hides, stretched over wooden frames. Let's see if this oh, it has it! Yay! That blows me away. Curragh, an Irish boat constructed like a coracle. Coracles are round and originally the same shape. Now a boat of similar construction, but conventional shape. That means long and narrower, and large enough. Okay, we'll do that again because I was still reading. Thank you very much. I have it so that the time delay on it is short enough that it's not going to be there forever. It feels like it when it's swapping to another definition. And large enough to be operated by up to 8 oars. So curraghs can be different sizes, seriously. There's a book called The Brendan Voyage, and it's about the possibility that Saint Brendan got to North America before not just Columbus, but also before the Vikings. It is now reasonably accepted historic fact that the Vikings got to North America, Canada actually to be specific, before Columbus ever made his way across, long before. But Saint Brendan has possibly done it even hundreds of years before the Vikings did it. And there's this chap who is a professional explorer, basically. Brendan Voyage, Tim Severin, Severin. Really fascinating read. I read it when I was a teenager. And he decided, he was an historian, and so he decided he was going to do this. We have an ear redemption. He decided he was going to do this, see if he could do this voyage and see if it was actually doable. First of all, see if they could make a boat that was like what was described. And so he went from England over to Ireland to do that. So I'm just going to turn on my, where is it? Picker, that's the one. First we turn this one on, and I have to do the interact on that so I can get it in the right view. And then we go. Oh, yeah, for new people here, I have a redemption that you can do. And this is one of the redemptions we can do. And we have bats! Shall I run it again? Because we've had bats before, quite recently. I'm just going to turn that off so you can see the, isn't it cute, the moth? Isn't it so cute? That's on someone's fingertip. So cute and fluffy. So fluffy. So I'm going to bring this back. I am actually going to do that again because I've done bats a couple of times in the last little while. Yeah, that is a finger. That's this tiny little moth on the end of someone's finger. And so cute. Mouse. Oh yeah, I know which one mouse is. Sorry, it was like mouse because I'm doing computing all day that it's like. And by the way, that was a freebie for you. I don't normally do it spin again. So I'm doing computing all day, so to me, mouse means, you know, a computer mouse. So here we go. I'm going to put these on. This is my mouse ears. I like the sparkliness of the sequins on them. They're actually reversible, but I think they're just plain silver on the other side, so they're a bit, yeah, ground bat. Mouse is a ground bat. I'll turn this one off and I will find my egg timer and turn it on. And go start. So I now wear these for 6 minutes while I'm reading or chatting or whatever else. I do have another redemption that can be done to do with ears, and in that one you get to choose which ears. And I will tell you the names of them, and I'm not going to hold them all up and wave them at you this time, because I did that last time and it took too long. Anyway, so that's if you want to specifically have me wear a particular set of ears, then it costs a bit more, but you can choose the ears. And oh yeah, if you need me to get back on track with the story or something, you can actually get me to set off the ramble rocket, which gives me 2 minutes to complete the thought that I'm on and get back to the story or whatever we were supposed to be focusing on. So I'm going to get that out of the way, and we shall find another puzzle. Now let's go back to the quicker way of doing the puzzle. I love those moths. I think they are so cute. And yes, Lemon, I'm glad you spotted that is a finger that the moth is sitting on. They are so, look them up online, seriously, look them up. So that is a rosy maple moth is what you look up in Google, and then just put it onto image search. That's so cute. Yeah, yay me. Yay, go me. I can tell what a finger is. Well done. Yeah. A finger or a thumb. Doesn't really matter. Any of those things, it's just like, oh my goodness. It's so small and so cute. Gold star for limbs. Absolutely. I should have some gold stars, shouldn't I? I haven't got any. Sad. Sad. Right, so, sorry, brain, ADHD. I should do a command about that too, shouldn't I? All these things, I need to be writing these ideas down. What was the last one I said? Okay, so ADHD, or attention deficit, all shiny, ADOS. We should do that one as a command or a redeem or something that goes across the screen and distracts everybody. That's a good way to do it. And a gold star. Gold star. And yes, I haven't done any more in the way of emotes. Puzzles. Let's look at puzzles, and I'll give you a puzzle. Oh, there's different categories. I hadn't actually looked at this part of the site. Mythical. Let's look at mythical. I don't think I've done that one. We'll do this one. Jigsaw, properties, put the link in. No, come back. And interact, here it is. That one there, we can bump up to quite a bit more. So I'm going to give you 135 on that, just because it's got a lot more detail in it, so it's not quite so same, to make it hard to do. The advert you're seeing is Specsavers is a New Zealand budget spectacle place where they make them for you. I don't know if you have that brand overseas. I'm just very aware of the fact that the ads that I see are the ones that you guys get to see here, and they may or may not be ones that you're used to where you live. Right, so here you go. Puzzle is ready to go. And I shall put my book back in front of me. That sounds like a good idea, Goriki. Well done. You can use it now if you want. Book. Right. Other book. Next book. I've got it written down here. Which one? I'm not going to do all of these. Which one's the next really interesting one? This. One of these two. Sorry, just find the right book. I did actually look through to find the stories this time. And it's called that one. Yay, and it's in the right app. This is called The Ghost, okay? That's more appropriate for this theme. Okay, it's from Folklore and Legends, Russian and Polish, because this chap, Charles Johnson Tibbets, who is the compiler of this one, did a series of them, and he did them from different countries, and so he put together books. So there's a book of Russian and Polish folklore and legends. There's a book of English folklore and legends. There's one that is Norwegian or Scandinavian. There's a whole lot. They've got so many different ones. But to speed up choosing, I actually just looked at the ones that had page numbers in the table of contents, so I could choose the ones that were slightly shorter, because otherwise it's really, really, really long. Oh, the time is up. Wow. Thanks for the reminder. No, we've got nearly up. You'll really know when it's up. There you go, now it's up. And so we take the ears off and we carry on reading. I'll put those ones over there so I don't do them again. Yeah, there it is. That's the one. Now I'll turn off the visual for that and we shall get on with the story. So this story is from Folklore and Legends, Russian and Polish, by Charles John Tibbets, Tibbitts. There you go. Lots of duplicate letters in there. Just going and checking on your food with like going and checking on your food when there's 10 seconds left. Done, but not quite. Yeah, absolutely. Jigsaw. I didn't turn it back on again. Sorry. Okay, Lemon, I'll do another one. Let's find the picker. Here's the picker. Turn it on again. That was the previous one that we did. Interact. Continue. So we won't get mouse again because it has removed that from the list. As you can see, there's less wedges on there. Sectors, something. Pink unicorn. No, not the pink unicorn. I don't like the pink unicorn. That's the one that's too tight. I need to attack it with some sort of cutty thing to remove the extra bits off the edges of the headband, because the thing is, these are all ones that are sold for little girls, and little girls have smaller heads than grown adults. So here we go. Here's the pink unicorn. See what I mean? The actual band is a lot wider. So when it's a really wide band, it means that it pulls in a lot tighter on your head. So I will eventually, and it's all glittery, by the way. Look, it's all shiny with this cool glitter. Wish I could make it show properly. I could take it out of rotation, but the intention is that I'm going to actually fix it. This might make me fix it, okay? I'll just get that one out of the way and we'll start the egg timer again. So here we go. There's the egg timer going. I will eventually get this one fixed so I can use it properly. It's just, that's okay. It's not a problem. It's just when I first got it, I stuck it on one day and wore it for a while, and it was just like after a while it got just a little bit, the pressure got a little bit naggy. I'll just move that a bit so you can see that it's got the unicorn horn. Right, story. I keep going to look for my book. I'm not used to doing it off the screen. How odd for me. Right, so The Ghost. Here we go. This is a story from either Russia or Poland. Once upon a time, a poor scholar going to town chanced to come across the body of a man which had been cast by someone under the walls of the town near to the gate. So, dead body, i.e. the body of a man, had been thrown outside the gate. under the walls of the town. The scholar had put... There, I'll have a coffee. You can have one too. The scholar had very little money in his pocket, but for all that he willingly paid for the body to be buried in a Christian manner, because the era that this is from, it was believed that you would haunt everybody and all this sort of stuff if you weren't buried in sacred ground. So therefore you don't just leave bodies lying around. It's a good way to make sure that people have enough superstition, who've got enough superstition, actually just, sort of bury people decently, I suppose. Anyway. So he paid for the body, even though he didn't have much money, he paid for the body to be buried in a Christian manner so that it might be protected from insult. Not having people doing horrible things to it, or scavengers eating it and things like this. Having seen to this, he said a few prayers over the grave, then continued his journey. It chanced that one day as he passed through an oak wood, he felt tired and laid himself down to sleep under one of the trees. When he awoke, how astonished was he to find that his pockets were all full of gold. He called down blessings on the head of whoever it was that had done him this good turn, and went on. At length he came to the bank of a wide river, too deep for him to ford. That means to walk across, walking on the bottom of the river, but, not being washed away. Not brand a vehicle. Too deep for him to ford. Seeing the money he had with him, 2 boatmen offered to row him across. He entered the boat, and the men rowed till they came to the middle of the river, where they set upon him, robbed him of his gold, and threw him into the water. Almost insensible, that means almost unconscious, he was carried away by the stream, but as he was floating along, he found a log of wood beside him. He clung to it and kept himself afloat by means of it, managed to scramble ashore. The log, however, was not really what it seemed to be. It was the spirit of the dead man, whom the poor scholar had buried, and now when he was on shore, the spirit spoke to him and said, I am the spirit of him whose corpse you honoured with burial. I am grateful for what you did, and in return I will teach you 3 things. Special number, isn't it? How to change yourself into a crow, a hare, and a roebuck. Roebuck. What is a roebuck? It's a type of deer. Let's see if our word thing has it. Yes, it does. A male roe deer. Because buck is a male deer. I should have realised that. Okay, right. How to change yourself into a crow, a hare, as in like a rabbit, but the giant ones, a jackrabbit, they're sometimes called in the States, I think. Some parts of the States call them a jackrabbit. They're the really big ones with the extra big feet, and they don't live in families. They tend to live on their own. So that's a hare and a roebuck. Having acquired these strange powers, the poor man went on his way. Yeah, because he was a poor scholar. He didn't have any extra money. And they stole what he did have. When in time he came to the court of a mighty king, in whose service he entered as an archer. Now this king was the father of a beautiful princess who lived alone in a castle on a solitary island. I hope she chose that. The walls of the castle were of copper, and in it was a sword of such an extraordinary kind that one could, by waving it in the air, cut down a whole army at one sweep. That's a magical sword, if ever I've heard of one. It was natural that the sword should be coveted by very many, but no one durst venture upon the island to endeavour to obtain it. Not quite sure why, but obviously they don't. Now at the time that the poor scholar came to court, the king was sore troubled by his enemies, who were invading his dominions. He had great need of the sword, but how could he get it? On the island, inside a castle that had copper for its walls. He determined to see whether there was any among his subjects who would dare go to the island, and so he caused a proclamation to be published to the effect that if anyone would bring him the magical sword, he should receive his daughter in marriage and succeed him on the throne. One would hope she gets a say in this too, as usual. Oop. There we go. There goes the pink unicorn horn. And thank you for choosing. Thank you for shopping with us. I'm just going to turn off the... Where is it? It's up there somewhere. Oh, I didn't go far enough. Egg timer. Turn off the egg timer. There. And then I can see what I'm doing. Carrying on. Every time she forgets, doesn't notice, is a learning experience. Can take it out of it. Oh yeah, sorry. Go Ricky is winding me up. Yeah, learning the fact that this hairband is still there and hasn't done its thing, hasn't been fixed yet. That's what that was with reference to. Every time she forgets, it's a learning experience. Maybe one day I'll actually remember that I need to do something with it. That's what that's about. Right. Carrying on with the story, I just have to bring it up again. Right. Trying to find my place on the page. For a while, that's right, because he said anyone who succeeded in bringing him the magical sword would receive his daughter in marriage and succeed him on the throne. For a while no one came forward, but at last the scholar determined to make the attempt. Everyone was astonished at his audacity, but he boldly went to the king and begged him to give him a letter that he might deliver to the princess, asking her to give him the sword. I like that. The king wrote the letter and gave it to the man, who at once set out, making his way through the forest. Unknown to him, he was followed at a little distance by another of the king's archers, who had determined to go after him and see how he sped. To travel the quicker, the archer assumed the shapes of a hare and a roebuck, and as was suited to the ground over which he had to pass. And at last he came to the seashore. He then took the shape of a crow, and flying over the waves as quickly as his wings would bear him, he at length came to the island on which was the castle. He landed and made his way to the castle, entered and delivered the king's letter to the princess, begging her at the same time to let him have the victorious sword. So you get the authorization letter, but also him asking himself instead of it just being Dad demanding. The beautiful princess, who had lived so long without looking upon a stranger, scanned the archer closely and fell in love with him. She inquired of him how it was that he had had the courage to undertake a task from which others drew back, and to come to the castle which had not been visited by man for so many years, and the archer told her all about himself and the wonderful powers he possessed. The princess, asking him to give her proof that what he said was true, and desiring him to change himself into the various forms, the archer immediately did as she desired, and a handsome roebuck gambolled and played around her. As the princess stroked it, hello, nice dear, she plucked a tuft of hair out of the animal's coat, but the archer did not notice. Next he changed himself into... I'm just checking that I didn't miss some. Next he changed himself into a crow and flew about the room. The princess laid her hand upon the bird, and while she stroked it, contrived to pluck some feathers out of its wing without the archer noticing. This is definitely a fairy tale, because you don't pull feathers out of a bird without them noticing. But we'll go with it. So she pulled some feathers out of the room without him noticing. He last of all changed himself into a hare, and again the princess plucked a tuft of hair out of the hare, and was unnoticed. Hare, H-A-I-R, and H-A-R-E for the animal. Then the princess wrote a letter to her father, delivered the sword to the archer, and dismissed him. Taking the form of a crow, the man flew over the sea, and having reached the shore, he changed himself into a roebuck, and ran till he came to the forest. Then he changed himself into a hare, and began to make his way as fast as possible through the forest depths. Now, the archer who had followed him had seen all that he had done till he came to the seashore to fly over to the castle. There the man had stopped, awaiting the other's return. He saw him come back in the shape of a crow, change himself into a roebuck, and again into a hare. As the hare was making its way through the forest, the archer bent his bow bent his bow, and discharged an arrow so well aimed that the hare at once fell dead to the ground. Oh dear. The archer came up to it, took the letter and the sword, and set out to the palace. When he arrived there, he gave the king the sword and demanded the promised reward. The king was delighted to find himself in possession of the sword, which would destroy all his enemies. He confirmed his promise of the reward, leapt into the saddle, and set off to the place where the hostile army was encamped. Scarcely had he come near enough to distinguish the flags of the enemy in the distance than he brandished the sword, held it up, and waved it round. At every stroke, fresh foes fell to the ground, and at the last, the few of them that were left fled from the field, stricken with terror at their comrades' mysterious fate. The king collected together the booty he found in the enemy's camp and returned home, sent to his daughter to tell her to come to his court so that he might give her to the archer. Meanwhile, the poor fellow who had been slain while he was travelling as a hare lay dead in the forest under an oak tree. All of a sudden, however, he came to life again, and looking around, saw the spirit of the dead man whose body he had buried standing near him. The spirit told him it had witnessed what had befallen him, and had, by the power it possessed, called him back to life. The wedding of the princess, it said to the man, is to be celebrated tomorrow, and if you would keep her, you must go as fast as you can to the palace. She will know you as soon as she sees you, and you will also be recognized by the archer who so wickedly slew you. So the young man lost no time, but went to the palace. When he came to the court, he found all the guests already assembled. He entered the room, and no sooner had the princess cast a glance on him than she knew it was he, and beside herself with joy. As for the treacherous archer, he turned pale when he saw the man, whom he thought he had murdered, alive and well. Oh! Then the man told all the company everything that had happened, and how the archer had slain and robbed him. The tale was so wonderful that the guests could scarcely credit it, so the man changed himself into a roebuck to show them that what he had said was true. Then the princess put her hand into her pocket and took out of it a tuft of hair, which was found to exactly fit a bare place on the roebuck's coat. The man changed himself into a hare, and the princess again produced a piece of hare's coat, which exactly fitted a bare spot in the animal's skin. Lastly, he changed himself into a crow, and the princess, producing the feathers she had formerly plucked out of the bird, it was found that they were missing in its plumage. When the king saw all this, he required no further proof of the man's story, and he ordered that the treacherous archer should be at once led forth and put to death by being torn to pieces by 4 wild horses. There you go. And then the guy asked, was plucking it really necessary? Within the palace all was joy and festivity. The archer married the princess, and they wanted nothing, for the wish of their hearts was obtained. There you go. I would say from the way the story is told that there's nuances that we don't get, and probably the story that the archer who had been slain told was kind of accepted, but it wasn't proof enough. Don't forget that he was a newcomer basically to the court, and the other guy had probably been there for quite some time, and so therefore people would be more inclined to believe the other guy. And so it's like, well, you tell a good story, but it's just a story. And so therefore the king's daughter, I think, has gained a lot of wisdom, that she actually figured out, if I pull these, I might find them useful for some reason. And she did. That's just the way these stories go. So we will have one more story and no crafts today, sorry, just because there's not enough time to get set up. Let's find the right one. Folklore and Legends English by Charles John Tibbets. Let's find the right one. There it is. And it is on page, right, I'm just going to the right page. There it is. This one's also appropriate for the season. The Yorkshire Boggart. Let's see if my dictionary app has it. Word. It feels like a very English word. Boggart, boggart, boggart. A bogey, a ghost, goblin, or other hostile supernatural creature, especially a small local spirit haunting gloomy places or the scenes of violence. That is a boggart. And yeah, it feels like a very English word. So we'll carry on and we'll read that. And then I'll finish. So this is from the book Folklore and Legends, English, by Charles John Tibbets, spelt the same way as it was last time. The Yorkshire Boggart. A boggart introduced... words again. Excuse me. I forgot that. It was used in Harry Potter too. Definitely. Well, the author is English, and so therefore she's drawing from fable background. Very familiar stuff for a certain type of people. They grow up listening to stories, and so it colours the way you tell other stories. If you want a good example of that, but not creepy stories, but how growing up listening to certain sorts of stories, especially from your own cultural background, influences the way you tell stories, then go and read some Owen Golfer books, the Artemis Fowl series. He's Irish, he was a school teacher, he became an author, and he's as Irish as you can get, basically. But you can feel it in the way he tells his stories. The Irish have a strong folklore and spoken tales tradition. So absolutely wonderful stories. I love them. I've seen the movie, I enjoyed the movie, but the books are... Well, you can't get the detail in a movie that you can get in a book. And also the pictures that are in your head are different to the ones that are on the screen. The fact that Butler's my favourite character, always has been. But the fact that Butler was meant to be an Asian African dude, great big giant. I named my Overwatch account Artemis Fowl after the book. Fabulous. Good on you. Well done. But yeah, they're my favourite series of books. Everybody else was reading Twilight in the homeschool circles I was in. All the mums were reading Twilight. I was reading Artemis Fowl. I wasn't interested in sparkly vampires. The Leprechaun and people and ones like that. Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the movie flopped. In a lot of ways it's because there were too high an expectation of what people wanted the story to do, and also the timing, like Coleslaw says, a COVID-19 movie. It's really hard to get a decent action movie when you've got the restrictions that we had with people interactions and action movies, because the stories are action stories. All that sort of stuff. You can't do it quite the same way when you've got to keep a lot more social distancing. And that was in the early days of COVID, so they really had to be that much tighter on how close people could get and what they could do together and all that sort of stuff. Right, better in a show version, yeah, probably. So I'm going to read this, and if anyone hasn't read any of the Artemis Fowl books, I'm sure that Coleslaw will give you a Wikipedia link to the books or the author, so you can go and look them up through your local library or buy them yourself. We bought some of the books through the secondhand bookshop, which also sells remaindered firsts, not brand new books, not just secondhand ones. And you could order brand new books through them too, but it was a great resource for us. And so we've got them somewhere, and from time to time one of the family will read through them again. In fact, we used to use them as read aloud books. Oh, that's right, I forgot there was a fandom page for it. Of course there is. Why wouldn't there be? Right, so let's read the Yorkshire Boggart, and you can also read at the same time that, or look at it later, whatever, doesn't matter. The Yorkshire Boggart. A boggart intruded himself. That's the word I got stuck on because I was going to go introduced. Intruded himself, upon what pretext or by what authority is unknown, into the house of a quiet, inoffensive and laborious farmer, in other words a farmer who was physically worked really hard. And when once it had taken possession, it disputed the right of domicile with the legal mortal tenant. Yeah, they're a little bit feisty, our boggarts, in a very unneighbourly and arbitrary manner. In particular, it seemed to have a great aversion to children. Okay. As there is no point on which a parent feels more acutely than that of the maltreatment of his offspring, the feelings of the father, and more particularly of his good dame, that's his wife, were daily, aye, and nightly, harrowed up by the malice of this malignant and invisible boggart. Do you like the use of words? A boggart is seldom visible to the human eye, though it is frequently seen by cattle, particularly by horses, and then they are said to take the boggy, or boggle. No, take the boggle, a Yorkshireism for a shying horse. I didn't know that, did you? To take the boggle. The children's bread and butter would be snatched away, or their porringers, I think it's bowls, of bread and milk would be dashed down by an invisible hand, or if they were left alone for a few minutes, they were sure to be found screaming with terror on the return of their parents, like the farmer's children in the tale of the Field of Terror, whom the drudging goblin used to torment and frighten when he was left alone with them. And I think that's a story we're meant to already know. Yeah, that's why horses spook so easily, because they can see the boggarts. The stairs led up from the kitchen. A partition of boards covered the ends of the steps and formed a closet beneath the staircase. A large round knot was accidentally displaced from one of the boards of this partition. One day the farmer's youngest boy was playing with the shoehorn. That's the thing for getting your shoes off because they're tight-fitting, or putting them on. And as children will do, he stuck the horn into this knothole. Whether the aperture had been found by the boggart as a peephole to watch the motions of the family, or whether he wished to amuse himself, is uncertain. But sure it is that the horn was thrown back with surprising precision at the head of the child. It was found that as often as the horn was replaced in the hole, so surely it was ejected with a straight aim at the offender's head. Time at length made familiar this wonderful occurrence, and that which at first was regarded with terror became at length a kind of amusement with the more thoughtless and daring of the family. Often was the horn slipped slyly into the hole, and the boggart never failed to dart it out at the head of one or the other, but most commonly he or she who placed it there was the mark at which the invisible foe launched the offending horn. So it wasn't just any of the two children that it was aimed at, it was the one who put it there. I'm finding the right place. They used to call this, in their provincial dialect, larking with boggart, i.e. playing with the boggart. Larking. It's written Laking, but I happen to have heard a few Yorkshiremen speak, so it would be larking, Larking. Larking around is teasing, playing, joking around, but because of the way the English say their words, the R is a long A sound. It doesn't, the A and R together is a long A sound, as opposed to a North American larking with a so it's larking. Larking around with boggart, as if enraged at these liberties taken with his boggartship, the goblin commenced a series of night disturbances. Heavy steps, as of a person in wooden clogs. Clogs are an English type of shoe, not just a Dutch shoe. Shoes that are soled with wood, as in the sole of them, the bottom of them is wooden. Those are clogs. Were often heard clattering down the stairs in the dead hour of darkness, and the pewter and earthen dishes appeared to be... Okay, thanks for the warning. Has swears in it, good. Yeah, I've only ever seen it written with an R in it, not the one without. But pronunciation-wise, it makes sense that it's written that way. The pewter and earthen dishes appeared to be dashed on the kitchen floor, though in the morning all were found uninjured on their respective shelves. So at night they would appear to have been thrown down and smashed. The children were chiefly marked out as objects of dislike by their unearthly tormentor. The curtains of their beds would be violently pulled backward and forward, because you used to have curtains directly around your bed. It would help to cut out the drafts, because drafts were meant to be dangerous. And give you a little bit of a warmer space in a not so warm house, because they didn't have insulation like we do. Pulled backwards and forward, anon a heavy weight as of a human being would press them nearly to suffocation. They would then scream out for their daddy and mammy, who occupied the adjoining room, and thus the whole family was disturbed night after night. And no, anon in this means straight away, at once. It does not mean anonymous. I like that puzzle. Do you like that puzzle? I like the idea of books creating worlds, the magic of it. I like that. Thank you for doing that. There was another one I will give you. Just a moment. I'll grab it. This shouldn't take quite so long because I'm not creating it from scratch. Anon also means anonymous. That's why it stayed up for longer, because it does alternative meanings. The original of my pop-up for words didn't used to have that. Yeah, I'm saying again. I know. I'm sorry. Yep, that'll do. Anon. Very good. Cool. So the usage here in this particular story is the first one. Immediately. Now. I think most of us, where we have heard that usage, are familiar with it from Shakespearean English. The Old English history about that word is kind of neat. I'm going to have to look that one up. Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for mentioning that, Lemon. That's great. Okay, so back here, and I've got the puzzle. Yep, puzzle's ready to go. And I shall carry on with reading. I'll just read that last line again. They would then scream out for their daddy and mammy, who occupied the adjoining room, and thus the whole family was disturbed night after night. Things could not go on after this fashion. The farmer and his good dame resolved to leave a place where they had not the least shadow of rest or comfort. So they're going to leave home because of this boggart. The farmer, whose name was George Gilbertson, was following with his wife and family the last load of furniture when they met a neighbouring farmer whose name was John Marshall, between whom and the unhappy tenant the following colloquy took place. Conversation. Old word. Well, George, so you're leaving to old house at last. I'm not going to try with the accent. I don't think I'm going to. Hey, Johnny, my lad, I'm forced till it, for that boggart torments us so we can neither rest night nor day for it. It's actually written kind of like you'd get the pronunciation for the dialect, but it's just going to sound terrible. Sorry. Neither rest nor night or day for it. It seems like to have such a malice against poor bairns. It almost kills my poor dame here at thoughts on't. And so, you see, we're forced to flit like. He had got thus far in his complaint when, behold, a shrill voice from a deep upright churn called out, Aye, aye, George, we're flitting, you see. Confound thee, said the poor farmer. If I'd known thou'd been there, I wouldn't ha' stirred a peg. Nay, it's to no use, Mally. He turned to his wife. We may as well turn back to old house, to be tormented in another that's not so convenient. To be tormented in another house that isn't so convenient. They are said to have turned back. But the boggart and they afterwards came to a better understanding, though it long continued its trick of shooting the horn from the knot hole. And that's the end of the story. So there you go. Because they decided they were going to move and they're telling the neighbour about it, and the boggart's sitting in the butter churn listening, it decides it's going to tell them that it's going with them. And so the farmer wisely decides, since we already know the house and it's comfortable and it's what we're used to and all that sort of stuff, it's better to have the boggart with us somewhere that's familiar than the boggart being with us somewhere that we have to get used to, a new place. And so they came to a bit of a truce, and the kids enjoyed their game with the boggart with the shoehorn. Right, so there you go. Let's see. I love that rosy maple moth. I've ended up going over on the other page and seeing it again. I'm going to put up another picture of a rosy maple moth for you so you can see them. And they've got the pinkest of legs. They're so cute and fuzzy and fluffy. It's like, I don't know how they can be so cute, but they are. And like you said before, so small, so small. So I'll get that picture up when I find the right thing for it. So what have you got planned for tonight or tomorrow night for those of you who are not in New Zealand? And this is way bigger than they actually are in real life. There you go. There's a rosy maple moth. They're tiny. Just remember the size of the tip of a finger. Isn't that cute? So cute. I'm so glad that Squibble's actually doing the illustrations of them. So it's a whole series of illustrations, a story sort of sequence. I should probably find out more about that. Anyway, so I didn't tell you guys about Codex. I know some of you know. Relaxing and early bedtime. Haha, nothing too exciting. Good on you. Go for it. I think that's a good idea. I'll probably be, today's Monday, I'll be watching some Father Brown tonight, the TV detective series. And Lemon's saying I'll be doing my best Harry Potter whilst living at the Dursleys impersonation. Hiding in my room and pretending I don't exist. Yeah. People knocking at the door. No one's here. There's no one at home. The lights are off. Can you not tell? Father Brown is such a good show. Yeah, I love it. And hubby really has been enjoying it. I tend to prefer whodunit style stories or something with a bit of humour but are not straight humour. Most of the straight comedy shows I don't like. I don't really... The type of humour in a lot of the ones that are just straight comedy doesn't quite work. Whereas comedy in a drama works, definitely, and some of the parts are definitely played for comedy. So just in case you're wondering, I am part of a group called Codex, and this is for those who are new here, especially those over on YouTube. Codex, there's a logo over there that says Codex and then my screen name on it. So Codex is a group of readers who read public domain books, ones that are no longer within copyright. And most of the Codex readers also will play games on Twitch and do other things like make music and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a really wonderful bunch of people, very diverse in terms of life and everything else that's going on. So we now have 11 official readers in the Codex team. Yay. The first one of those two links will take you to the team page, which will show you whoever's currently live. Whenever you go to the team page, it'll show you the first team member who is actually live at the time you go there. There may not be anyone live when you go, just keep going back, but also give them a follow. Go to their Twitch channels, follow them, subscribe to them, give them bits, encourage them, whatever. Just because it's a really awesome bunch of people. We've got someone who lives in a, not a mobile home, a van, a caravan, a truck, or something, I'm not quite sure. They actually drive and live in their vehicle type thing, rather than something that's a mobile home that's fixed in place in a campground. They actually travel with their vehicle. We've got a librarian, a children's librarian. We've got audiobook narrators and actors. We've got a school teacher. And there's others who I don't even know what they do, and I really want to know, and I think I need to start pinning them down and asking, because I like bragging about the wide range of skills that we have, life experience that we have and all that sort of stuff, because it's just really cool to know a bunch of people who are so so varied with what life is about for them. So yeah, that's Codex. It's an awesome bunch of people. Go and give each of them a follow. Totally different range of stories that each of us reads. Some of them double up on what others are reading as well, because I mean we're all reading from the same sort of sources like Project Gutenberg. I'm the only one who only reads children's books online, I think. The others have a much broader range of books that they read, but that's just what I've chosen. Each of us kind of has our own little focus in our own way, or feel to what we do. So go and give them a follow. Also join the Discord server if you haven't already. If nothing else, then to see how you can look after, if you're a streamer or a moderator, how you can help look after your stream's health regarding bots and bot behavior and things like that. How to identify when a user is a bot. You don't want bots sitting in your channel because they can receive gifted subs, which means that real people are not. They can... not everybody's as wise as we are about when spam is put into chat in terms of following links and having things happen. Sorry, past shelf date, that was a little bit long. I'm just going to repost it for you. Come on, give me the right bit. I don't want you to do that. No. Oh, it's probably already finished anyway. Thank you, Lemon. That's why I couldn't find it. I was looking for the button that said I could untime out, but I've just pasted in there what past shelf date was saying. So first of all, I'm just going to read this bit here. Lemon was saying, also, I like to think Arthur Weasley just decided one day to become a pastor, and this is what he does when his kids are off at school. That would be funny, wouldn't it? It's a great way to think about it. Past shelf date says, I'm expecting to start a new job soon. Oh, so exciting. One that will have me going to sleep a lot earlier to start my day earlier, so I may need to seek out others in Codex to find someone I can continue to join during my new waking hours. Totally get it. See what you can find. Definitely see what you can find. See who's going to have the right sort of fit. Like I say, there's a lot more variety with this, with the target market for what the different books that are being read were written for. So you'll find they're a good bunch of people, and like I say, most of them will play games and stuff like that as well. One of them does music online as well. Cool, all sorts of things. He's an actor, that one. I've got more than one actor in the group. It's like, oh goodness me, such honoured presences around me. I'm the housewife and I read kids' books. But we have a lot of fun here, don't we? I like it. So it's good to be here. Good to have everybody here and just have somewhere we can chill and have lots of fun. And I love it. It just means so much to me to actually be able to do this with you guys. So I'm just keeping an eye on my other window. So yeah, I'll just continue. I'll complete what I was saying about the bots. Yeah, so it's how you can ban them, what you can do to identify if they are a bot or a person, because sometimes it'll just be a person who hasn't been on Twitch for long enough to actually even customize their name or their profile picture and things like that. But you also get bots that are specifically written to be able to harvest people's information when they're chatting, which is not good. That is not a good thing. And I've got family members who say, why would somebody send me spam like that? You know, because I'm going to go and click on it. Well, because they make money off it. You click on something, you write your email address in the box that they send you, and bam, they've actually got another live one on their hook. They've got an email address that is confirmed as being a real person that they can then sell as part of their database of information that other people actually do pay for, which is not good for all sorts of purposes. Not good purposes, let me say. Anyway, so enough of that sort of information. Great to have everybody here. I did do a shout out for Squibble, didn't I? I didn't do one for Goriki. He's probably busy in the classroom at the moment. But this is the link for Goriki. He's our master bot banner, bot squasher, bot attacker, all those things. Maybe he brings all of the skills that he's got from playing things like Warframe to bashing bots. I don't know, but he's just really good at it. He's good at recognising the patterns of behaviour and stuff that they do. But it's really worth it. It's worth checking into. And if you're not a streamer, if you're not a moderator, I don't mind you understanding all the stuff going on, because it's kind of like seeing behind the curtain to see how the magician does his tricks. It's not a bad thing for you to know that. It can add to your appreciation of the way people are building and taking care of the communities that we choose to be part of online. So it's all good, I reckon. Anyway, so there you go. I will work on getting some more headbands done. So this is how far we got last time with the eyes. And I can't remember the name. I've got it written down. Someone suggested a name for this one. So we've got extra eyes up here, and they are slightly angled differently to the other ones, and I'm going to try and put some behind as well, and put some that are looking more downwards, so we get a little bit more variety. It's not just a flat thing. It's not just eyes that are looking flat, but actually eyes that are pointing in different directions, and put them on wires so they're kind of like boing around and things like that. I've got some more ribbon. I need to figure out how to curl it to add to this one, which has green in it, which is obviously going magically disappearing. Wonderful. I like that one. I like that. Sorry, I'm talking about the jigsaw puzzle. Fairy light. Yes, it is. It's a flower that's providing the street light for the fairy. That's really cute. So great to have you all here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm thinking what else, and I also want to figure out what to do about the Hello Kitty headband. I think that would be a cute one, but I'm going to see if I can find a way to make the ribbon part of it more real. That would be cool. I like to just sort of have a little bit of something slightly different about the way we do it. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you Squibble for coming in, raiding with your viewers. That's been really appreciated, and hopefully they've had fun too. Lemon's saying, thanks for streaming today. I really enjoyed the jigsaw puzzles along with the stream. Great. Yeah, Lemon hasn't been able to make it for a while, so the jigsaw puzzles are new for them. Kind of, yeah. So it's lots of fun to be able to do. I've done them, I think, once or twice when you've been here, but it's been a while ago, and I'm getting better at it, kind of. So lots of things like that. So things I need to work on: emotes. I've got a list of bits and pieces I can try towards. We've got them over on the Discord server. Headbands, doing some more so I can swap some of them out, like the pink unicorn. Maybe might be a good idea, and fix the pink unicorn one. Was there something else I was going to work on? I'm sure there was. I can't remember what. Anyway, lots of fun. So, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. And in the meantime, happy reading. Bye.